that their marriage was a contractual agreement to help NBA YoungBoy get off house arrest.
That NBA YoungBoy's marriage was a contractual arrangement to assist him in escaping house detention. The wife of NBA YoungBoy finally speaks out about YB's infidelity. When I say finally, I mean that this woman has managed to keep her composure in the face of situations that would have thrown most individuals into a frenzy on Instagram live at 2 in the morning. Through the court proceedings, the arrests, the public humiliation, the Instagram stories, and the numerous babies. Throughout it all, she remained silent and shared pictures of her family as if the internet hadn't witnessed her entire life being denigrated in real time. However, something changed. We're delving into what exactly drove her to that point today. Because there is much more to this story than what the blogs tell you. Because of Jason Michelle, the lady NBA YoungBoy had tattooed on his body, the woman he referred to as his wife, and the woman who sacrificed her tranquil life for him. She's been quiet for a very long time. Silence, however, does not imply that she is all right. She is not blind if she is silent. Furthermore, her silence does not imply that she is unaware of what is happening. This isn't just celebrity rumors, so you all need to hear it. This is a genuine woman, a real relationship, and a real pattern that has been unfolding for years in front of millions of people. To help you all understand how we got here, let me explain. We must start over. And I'm referring to the actual start. Before the side chicks began sharing stories, before the babies, before the tattoos. Jason Michelle Hayes was born on February 8, 2002. She was therefore extremely young when she first entered YoungBoy's life. And young Kentrell Deshawn Galden, who was born on October 20, 1999, was already among the most erratic, contentious, and perplexingly gifted musicians in the rap industry. Here's what people tend to overlook about YoungBoy. Relationships are not something this man does quietly. All of the women he has dated have finally come to light. Each and every one. The distinction with Jason is that she opted to enter YB's personal life at a time when it was already a full-fledged soap opera. YoungBoy already had several children with other women by the time Jason made a public appearance in 2021. We are discussing Caden's mother, Nisha, Cameron's mother, Star Thigpen, and Casey's mother, Dree Simone. And then there's Ayanna Mayweather, who was either Floyd's kid or his fiancé. There was more in between all of that. Before Jason even shared her first photo with him, the pattern had already been set. Why Jason then? Why did he actually marry her, or at least refer to her as his wife in public? No one has truly provided an answer to that question. And that's where the depth of this tale lies. Here's the truth about how Jason and YoungBoy's relationship quickly got out of control. Early in 2021, these two were first linked to the public. And things became serious fairly immediately. I mean, almost instantly. I mean, really, skip 5 steps. Jason was already well established by the time the general public even recognized her. This wasn't a slow-burning romance, no cap. YoungBoy was acting quickly as usual, locking in a woman before the previous situation had even had time to settle. What, then, led folks to genuinely think this one was unique? The title and the tattoo are two things. Jason's name was scribbled on it by YoungBoy, not in a little, unmemorable place. This man permanently and visibly displayed her name on his body, making a statement. Additionally, a tattoo has significance in YoungBoy's world. You know he's not exactly the sentimental poetry kind. That was noticed by the streets. Fans took note of that. Even those who don't keep up with his personal life were aware of that. Additionally, he began referring to her as his wife in public. Not a wife, not a baby mom, not a girlfriend. This distinction is important since YoungBoy has never casually used that word with Ayanna or any of the others. And when a guy of his stature, riches, and notoriety declares, "That's my wife," it has significance. Every other person in the image receives a message from it. Leaning toward it was Jason. On the internet, her vibe shifted. She started to be more visible and present. She posted with YB and their children, showcasing the domestic side of life that YoungBoy has always attempted to convey throughout his "I'm a family man now" phase. Then, as if by clockwork, the pattern began again. This is where things get insane, though. Because in the interim, YoungBoy was leading a whole different life while Jazan was establishing herself as a wife, starting a family, and having children. Let me clarify a point. YoungBoy has never shown loyalty. That's not meant to be harsh. I say this because the evidence has been made public, recorded, and reiterated so frequently that it has essentially become a known variable in the equation. You won't be dealing with a man who will sit still if you're dating a young lad. Gang, that's simply the way things are. When social media began making connections between YoungBoy's actions and those of other women in his immediate vicinity, people began to notice that something wasn't quite right in Jazan's relationship. We're talking about mystery likes, Instagram following, and ladies posting in places that correspond with the whereabouts of YoungBoys. This type of circumstantial evidence isn't conclusive on its own. However, when you add them up, a tale is revealed. Jazan remained silent. At first, people respected her for continuing to post, attend events, and act the part. She's not into drama, I guess. She's grown up. She's keeping it in check. However, being in denial is not the same as being mature. Furthermore, there is a significant difference between choosing to remain in denial and being fully aware of what is happening. In any case, it is not the case. In a moment, we'll find out what it might be. This is what actually transpired that altered the atmosphere surrounding this circumstance. Together, Jazan and YoungBoy had several children. While witnessing him give birth to children outside of their relationship, this lady offered him her body, her time, and her life. A young lad having children with several women is nothing new. That has already been established. However, that strikes differently when you're the woman he referred to as his wife and when you have his name tattooed on your body. That was a public assertion accompanied by a personal betrayal. And Jazan remained silent at every pregnancy, new baby announcement, and online rumor. No untidy postings, no explosive Instagram lives, no subtweets, nothing. It is nearly as difficult for a woman of her generation to remain silent in the social media era as it is to simply blow out. Because she had to get up every morning, log into these apps, and decide not to say anything because someone would always be in her comments, sneaking into her direct messages, or tagging her in posts saying, "Sis, you see this?" It requires a degree of compartmentalization or discipline that most people cannot comprehend unless they have experienced it. But then the internet-shattering incident happened. This is the section where everything changed, so you all need to pay close attention. This is the setup then. Jazan and YoungBoy recently welcomed a baby into the world. Very new, such as the birth certificate's ink, which is hardly dry at all. In the postpartum phase, Jazan is healing, vulnerable, and adjusting to being a new mother once more while juggling a home, a relationship, and her own mental health. For any woman, that is a difficult period. Nothing at all. And that's precisely when a tale that put the entire fan base into a frenzy hit the internet. A woman named Janina, who is supposedly the best friend of one of YoungBoy's previous baby moms, posted a narrative with YoungBoy together. This is when the tale truly becomes complicated. For those in the rear, let me reiterate that in a situation that doesn't allow for much space for innocent interpretation. One of his kid mothers is said to be great friends with his side chick. This woman is not at random. This person is a part of the circle. Someone who would have already been close to the entire globe. Someone who, in theory, would understand exactly who Jazan is, what she means to YoungBoy in public, and what it would mean to post that story. This is the bit that will make your mouth drop. And it's no coincidence, family. It's a message. That tale went viral as soon as it was discovered online. Within hours, it was on every fan account, blog, and YoungBoy gossip page. Jazan was being tagged. Her posts were receiving comments. She was under tremendous pressure to answer. What action did Jazan take? She said nothing. Here's what actually transpired in the days that followed, though. Those who can read between the lines began to notice some of her actions on the internet. It's the kind of subtle energy shift that lets you know she's not blind, rather than a direct declaration or a sloppy post. She notices it. She is aware. While everyone is watching, she is processing it in real time. Everything changed at that point. Since it was no longer merely a rumor. The lady he called his wife had to deal with the fact that it now had a face, a name, and a posted tail. This is when people began to make the connections. You'll notice that YoungBoy has always behaved in the same manner in all of his relationships if you go back in time. I mean, really look back, not just superficially. He travels in cycles. Tattoos, titles, public affirmations, intense dedication, and your own vibe. Then the same old patterns resurface. Old habits, new circumstances, and new ladies. However, Jazin's duration is different. The majority of YoungBoy's relationships either ended abruptly or exploded in public. Jazin has existed. She and he have had several children together. She has experienced relocations, legal issues, and the complete gamut. She doesn't currently have any idea what she signed up for. And thus begs the question, why is she still there, which no one wants to ask directly? For months, people have been discussing this on the streets. And when you consider the facts, there are actually very few explanations that make sense. She loves him, according to Theory 1. Despite everything, she genuinely loves this man. Love has never been rational, but it's not the most sensible response to outsiders. Love keeps individuals in situations that appear absurd on the outside. Additionally, YoungBoy is said to have the ability to make others around him feel as though everything is all right when he is there and in a good mood. That charisma is genuine. Theory as well. And this is the one that will make folks feel something. It's the cash, not a cap. This is the awkward bit that many people want to dance around, but won't say outright, so let me be completely honest with you all. One of the most prosperous independent rappers in history is NBA YoungBoy. We are not discussing a man who is having difficulties. We're talking about a man who, despite being shut out of mainstream radio and industry support for significant portions of his career, has amassed an empire, generated hundreds of millions of streams, moved millions in products, and owned masters. It's actual money. And once you're inside, it's very hard to leave the lifestyle that comes with it, the homes, the security, the access, and the stability. And here's the thing, Jazin is more than just a flawless girlfriend. She and this man are parents. She has a connection to the world of YoungBoys that transcends emotions and titles. She will always be in his orbit because she is the mother of his children, regardless of how their relationship develops. So why does she stay, people ask? Perhaps the most practical explanation is that she's already in, since her kids are already inside. Because navigating the world outside of what she's constructed inside that relationship as a young lady on her own is a different type of difficult. It's not shadow. I'm not saying that she's weak or stupid. That's my way of saying that real life is difficult. Additionally, women in these circumstances frequently make decisions that are not fully visible to outsiders. This is where things get insane, though. Because from a strategic perspective, the quiet makes perfect sense if it's about the money. You publicly blow up. On the internet, you fight wars. You exposed every bit of drama. What do you receive then? Pay attention, empathy. They don't protect your kids or cover your expenses. Being the wife and not the side girl, being silent and maintaining your position. You stay inside the house as a result. That keeps you at the dinner table, on the wheels, and on the deeds. Despite their desire, the streets are aware of this. This leads me to a thought that has been on my mind ever since the whole Janina affair came to light. Jazin has never been silent at random. It has never been passive. This is my opinion, gang. Remember that. Her silence, in my opinion, has always been deliberate. Because when a celebrity's partner goes public with drama, this is what happens. It turns into a news cycle. People take sides. It becomes entertainment on the internet. After that, it subsides. And the man in question uses that public outburst as an excuse to remove himself, portray her as the issue, and move on to the next circumstance with a fresh start. YoungBoy has never received that ammunition from Jazin. He has never been publicly humiliated by her. Drama has never been brought to his door by her. She has been the only thing that hasn't blown up in YoungBoy's life's ecology, which is noisy, chaotic, and always on fire. It's a powerful move, even if from the outside it doesn't appear to be one. However, she later shattered it. At last, she made it clear that she wasn't doing well. Not in an untidy manner, but really. We've been watching her suffer strike after hit and silence, so when she did, the internet froze. And everyone's suspicions were validated when she eventually let a crack show. She is a person. She has been in pain. And no title, tattoo, or sum of money can change it. What does this mean for everything then? The Janina matter has not been directly addressed by YoungBoy. He hasn't made a significant public declaration supporting Jazin or denouncing what transpired. To be honest, YoungBoy's tracks don't accomplish that. He uses music, interviews, his own schedule, and actions that take place on his timeline rather than as required by the internet to analyze his life. This is what's intriguing, though. Additionally, YoungBoy has already demonstrated that he is not totally emotionally cut off from Jazin in both lyrics and in frequent interviews. There have been times when it's obvious that she has a different position in his life than others because of how much he cares for her. It wasn't a random tattoo. The title wasn't chosen at random. Unlike the others, she has a connection with him. However, it's obvious that holding a particular place in YoungBoy's heart doesn't shield you from his actions. And that's what makes this whole thing so tragic. Jazin is not the first female in this role. She is not the first woman he has truly fallen in love with while still going through the typical childhood experience. She might not be the last, which is a harsh fact. For her, and to be honest, for every woman who watches this, the issue is, when do love, wealth, status, and tattoos become insufficient? When does the weight of your individual piece surpass that of the entire collection? This is larger than Jazin and YoungBoy, so allow me to zoom out for a moment. What we are witnessing unfold in public is something that takes place in millions of homes in secret and would never be featured on a YouTube video or gossip site. A woman who is bound to a guy by children, money, love, and identity is attempting to find a way to live in an obviously terrible position while everyone looks on and passes judgment. Additionally, the response to this scenario on the internet has been instructive. Some people have total sympathy for Jazin. She was aware of what she was entering into, according to some. There are many who are hoping that she will explode out and reveal everything. And some are wondering what it says about our culture that we find all of it so entertaining. This is my opinion. Real people know what's real. In actuality, Jazin Michelle has demonstrated more poise in the face of criticism than the majority of people ever will. She entered one of the most turbulent personal circumstances in celebrity culture, yet she managed to get through it without losing herself in public. It doesn't make what's happening to her acceptable, even if she may have been losing herself in private. It's not. It is unacceptable to cheat. The disrespect is unacceptable. It goes beyond simply being a poor boyfriend to have a baby with someone and then have your side chick, who is cool with your other baby mama, post stories within weeks. There is a pattern there. That's a way of life. The lady who has his name permanently inked on her soul must live inside of it. YoungBoy currently has more than 11 children, several nursing mothers, and a wife in spirit, if not fully in legal records. And despite everything, he has carried on with his routine of creating music, dancing, having children, and making few compromises to the ladies who adore him. YoungBoy most likely loves Jazin in the most genuine way he is capable of loving someone. However, faithfulness has never been a part of YoungBoy's conception of love. Exclusivity is never included. And the cycle will persist until something in his life compels a sincere reckoning with that, a loss that strikes differently, or an outcome he is unable to comprehend. Jazin's knowledge is not the question. She is aware. What she chooses to do with what she knows is the question. And now, at last, the silence is beginning to break, even a little. I believe that this story's next chapter will be drastically different from its predecessors. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Do you believe Jocelyn will stay or eventually leave? And will YoungBoy ever change, in your opinion? Or is this simply his personality? I'm curious about the opinions of the actual ones. Because YoungBoy isn't the only one involved. This is about a woman who has given everything to a man who consistently demonstrates to her that he is unsuited to her needs. Regardless of whether she stays or leaves, you should watch this film if you believe Jazin needs to finally express her feelings on her own terms. We don't sugarcoat anything on our channel, so please subscribe. And spread the word because someone you know needs to see this collapse. Here, we always keep it 100. tranquil.